many things that we could do. We just refuse to do them, and we remain in the same state, which is tired, low energy, miserable, unhappy, overweight, lack of confidence. I could go on, but we got to make changes in our life. And if you really want to make a change, if you want to save some money at the grocery store, this is a great way to go about it.
Welcome to Exploring Mind and Body with Drew Tadia. Drew is an expert in nutrition, fitness, lifestyle, and more. And he wants to help you live a healthier, longer, and more active life. Now here's your host, Drew Tadia.
Welcome to another edition of nationally syndicated Exploring Mind and Body. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of our True Form Life community. Whether you're listening on terrestrial radio across the country or as a podcast around the world, we certainly wouldn't be here without you. So once again, thanks so much for tuning in. Today, we're talking about grocery store tips. There's a lot of people that are struggling with groceries, and rightly so. Prices have gone up dramatically or drastically. So today, let's talk about grocery store tips, how to save money, the best way to go about collecting your groceries for the week, and much, much more. Sit back and enjoy. We got all that coming up on...
This is Exploring Mind and Body. Naturally improve your lifestyle one show at a time with your host, Drew Tadia.
All right, so let's get into it. We're talking about grocery store tips. You know what? I don't really know what's going on with the whole grocery industry. At one point in time, of course, inflation, that's a big thing happening right now. At one point in time, at least locally where we're at, the truckers went on strike because they weren't getting what they wanted to get in payment-wise, obviously, so they weren't delivering, and our grocery stores were quite bare. I remember I was in LA, and in our apartment in LA, my wife was up here, and when COVID first hit, I was at the grocery store, and the grocery store for the first couple days was empty. Everyone just hit the grocery store and started collecting everything as much as possible. And I was a bit taken back. Couldn't believe that was happening. So I feel like this is just a flash of that, but it's not that bad at the moment. Like it's not as bad as it was. And I'm sure it could get worse. But at any rate, let's talk about what we can do to prepare. Let's talk about what we can do to save some money. I know a lot of people are talking about how prices have gone up in many different areas. So we're going to go over that today. The first thing I want to talk about is where you're grocery shopping. Now, you could go grocery shopping in many different places, like many different stores. I was in Australia and they had more of a discount store. They had more of an expensive store. They had the health food stores. Same thing across the US. You have Whole Foods, which is more expensive than some of the cheaper avenues. What was the one I called? Was that a Food for Less, I think? Was one, and then up here in Canada, I've been all over the world, if you didn't know. And up here in Canada, you have Sobeys, you have No Frills, you have Safeway, Co-op. There's a lot of different places that you can go. So I think the very first thing to do is decide, or at the very least, look around. So I think some people fall in love with one particular area or one particular store, and they go there all the time, not knowing that the same product is cheaper. And I'm all about loyalty, don't get me wrong. I think if you find a good grocery store that offers good service and fair prices, that you should continue to support them. I really like Co-op and how they give back to the community. They seem to be more community orientated. They're more personal, like they're more personalized than some of the other stores around, but some of the other grocery stores. But we shop around. I'm giving you tips that we use as well. So I would highly suggest looking around. So some grocery stores will have the same food that's cheaper. And I don't know how the grocery industry works, but I can tell you from being a customer that you could find the exact same product at one of the different locations, and it costs quite a bit more, like significantly more. Not a few pennies that it's like, I'll just grab it here so I don't have to go somewhere else. It's a few dollars more. And if you add up those few dollars from a number of different products, of course, it makes a big difference to the bottom line of your grocery bill. So I think it's important to shop around, find what products that you like. Most of us, I read some research here just recently that said the majority of people eat the same 10 meals consistently. And it said if you could change those 10 meals or more positively influence those 10 meals, that's where you would see change. This one is particular about weight loss. So if you have majority of your meals is pasta, for example, or low quality. Maybe it's eating out. More, you have no idea how many people eat out. It's shocking to me when I sit across from someone and listen to how often, as a whole, we continue to eat out, which is only dangerous, particularly because it's the types of foods we choose when we eat out. And I'll be the first one to say that we can make healthy choices when we go out. The problem is that there's so many treats or so many temptations is the word I'm looking for, that in most cases we don't make better choices, even though that we can. We often have friends that say, oh, we can't go out with you because you're not going to eat half the foods. And I'm like, what are you talking about? We can always find something on the menu. There's always something healthier or at least cleaner. So it doesn't matter where we go. In most cases, of course, we're not going to McDonald's. But regardless of where we go, we always take activated charcoal. That's something that's important to us. When we go out, we know that there could be different types of oils that they're cooking with, or different kinds of sauces or substances that we may not know about. So we try to protect our gut and digestion and intestines as much as possible. And then, of course, that activated charcoal helps draw out whatever shouldn't be going in our body. And I wouldn't say, like, I'm not one of those people that say you can have whatever you want as long as you take some charcoal. It's probably not the best advice if you hear that from anyone. But I do think it's important to protect your digestive and still make healthy choices. Coming back to grocery stores, I was mentioning that it's important to choose or at least shop around. And I know it's like a lot of people, they just don't want to do it, right? It takes more time, it takes more effort. It's probably boring to a lot of people to look at prices or read ingredients, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't be doing it, or doesn't mean we don't need to be doing it. So it's beneficial to shop around and check out different grocery stores and see what different options they have and find out the best prices. That's a great way to save money. One of the other things that's worth mentioning is some grocery stores, at least here locally, they have, I think it's the first Tuesday of the month. I know Co-op does it for sure. They do, I don't know if it's 10 or 20% off. They do a percentage off. I suppose it doesn't matter because we have people listening all over. But wherever you are, go to your grocery stores and check to see what they have, like what flyers or I'll come to coupons in a second, but they'll have different special days like Customer Appreciation Day, or they'll have the 10% off day or 20% off day, whatever they're offering. And I know people that specifically, we live in a rural community, so I know people that come from out of town specifically on that percentage off day to get a discount. And why wouldn't you? It makes a whole lot of sense to me. Of course, if you need a few things here and there, but another one of my tips is going to get most of your groceries in one haul. I don't know if that's a challenge financially because, of course, it's a bigger bill. But if you allocate, like if you budget properly and allocate what your grocery list is or what you need and how much you're going to spend, then you have a good idea of when you can go. You're obviously going to save a bunch more money if you go on a specific day that there's a discount instead of going to the grocery store 4 times a week because you haven't properly planned in advance. So many tips here. That's got to be another one. Of course, you have to prepare in advance. And let me take a step back to budgeting, because I think it's important to know what you're paying for groceries per month. A lot of people know because you hear on social media that, oh my gosh, my grocery bill has gone up whatever percentage. It's gone up $200, whatever it is. But it's important to know, because I don't think a lot of people have any idea how much they're spending on food and groceries. And I say food and groceries because you have to look at restaurants or eating out. And these days, like even fast food, in my opinion, is expensive. Like for me, I look at quality. If you're having a good quality substance, I'm willing to pay more. So you have a low quality fast food and you're still paying a high price for it. Like I haven't been to McDonald's in years. McDonald's is the easy one to pick on. I don't go to any fast food restaurants, to be honest with you. Like I don't go to Wendy's, Arby's, McDonald's. I don't go to any of them. That's not an option for me. And like I'll go to Subway if I want to grab a sub. Where else do I go? I go to very few places when it comes to fast food in particular because of the quality. And I believe if you want a meal at one of the fast food joints, you're gonna pay $10 a meal. And that's like even subs used to be $5 for a foot long. Now I don't even know if you can get a 6-inch for that much. But at any rate, you're getting burger, fries, soda, and that is like $10 a person. So if you go together, why wouldn't you go to a restaurant? To me, if you're gonna go to a restaurant, probably pay $12 for a meal, and like for a lunch meal, I'm thinking more so than a supper meal. If a supper meal, you may be looking at $20, I suppose, depending on what you're ordering. But it's worth mentioning that if you're going to fast food and you're buying low quality, you're paying a high price. You're paying $10 a pop if you got 2 kids. That's $40. It's almost $50 for a single sit down. And then you see, I look at people's meal plans, and we have these conversations, and we talk about how often they're eating out, and they're talking about how they're on a budget and can't afford this or can't afford that. And then you look at how often they're eating out, and it's staggering, like how much you're spending on. And I'm not saying never eat out. Like, we have friends that have restaurant owners, and we go and support them, of course, and we buy gift cards to get people to help them draw traffic. We do a lot of different things. I'm not saying don't go to restaurants at all. I'm just saying that when you're looking at the low quality food choices or how often you're eating out instead of going to the grocery store and making your own meals, there's a lot of people that eat out on a regular basis, probably at least 4 times a week. I would say 3 at a minimum, 4 or 5 times a week. That's a lot. If you're looking at, I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about coffee and a muffin. I'm talking about a sandwich at a coffee shop. I'm talking about fast food dinner when you're going through the drive-through because you didn't prepare for the hockey game you're taking the kids to that they're playing. Of course, our hockey practice. And I actually train I think they're 13 to 14. I think they're called the U15, so under 15 hockey team. And I know it's challenging. Like, the parents are always running around to practice the games. Like, they live at the rink. I have zero judgment. I'm just trying to help out. I'm just trying to offer suggestions and tips. And this is one of them, is to prepare ahead of time, make sure you're prepped and ready to go. So let's focus on that right now is meal planning. Meal planning is so important. We meal plan for those that work with us. If you don't have someone that is meal planning for you, you should find someone or start meal planning yourself. So we sit down once a week and we plan all our meals out. Sure, it takes time to sit down and plan, and nobody seems to have time these days, which is fine. However, it saves much more time for you wandering around the grocery store trying to figure out what to buy. Your spouse is asking what's for supper. Your kids are asking for what's for supper. You don't know, so then you go to the drive-thru, which costs more financially. And of course, if you're sitting there waiting in line, you could have made a grocery list in that same amount of time. Or even those that pay, like we have people that pay for meal plans and they save money. I can't tell you how many times we have one of our clients or customers that says, I cannot believe how much money I'm saving using your meal plan. Of course, they're paying for it, but we have a package where we have fitness, and we have a meal plan, and we have group support, and I also do coaching calls with them. So that's like, you get a bundle like that. Of course, you're saving money when you're looking at hiring a nutritionist or hiring someone to create a meal plan for you, or you buy a bunch of food, you don't know how to use it, what recipes to use, and you put it in the fridge and it goes bad. It rots, or you have to throw it out. Like, that's wasted money. That's why our customers are saying, like, I can't believe how much money I'm saving, because you're using the food that you're eating. You're not buying food, throwing it away, then going and get more food, and half of that gets thrown away because you don't know how to use it, or you don't have a specific day when it's going to be used. That's what you should be doing, is creating a grocery. So what you do is you kind of reverse engineer. You got your meal plan, you discuss exactly what it is that you want to have, or you plan it yourself, and then you make a grocery list from that meal plan. So we're working backwards. Then you go to the grocery store, you buy your groceries, and then prep is key. So you got to prep that food on one day of the week. So we send out our meal plan on Saturday morning. We suggest checking the meal plan, making a grocery list, and then going to get your groceries, and then prepping on the weekend. So Sunday's usually a good day. Of course, everyone's life is different. We have to figure out what's best for us, but we have to make time for this. You're sacrificing time and health in one way or another if you're not meal planning, and if you're not going to the grocery store to get groceries, because we have to eat. The next thing I want to mention is meat products. Now, I'm not going to tell you not to eat meat. I will tell you, for me personally, I've noticed a huge difference when we have meat in our cart and when we don't. Like, we usually eat plant-based in most cases. When we eat meat, it's a rarity, or it's like once a month we might buy it, or we're at friends or family that are serving meat and we'll have it. But I will tell you for a fact that I am shocked how much meat is. Honestly, I don't buy steak. We buy chicken and fish. That's pretty much the only meat we eat. maybe some shrimp, or that'd be under the category of fish to me. But so we buy chicken or fish, and if we throw a couple chicken breasts, like 2 or 4 chicken breasts in the cart, I am shocked about how drastically the price or the cost of our meals go up. So you could, I know this is like some people wouldn't even consider it, because meat is a staple, of course. You got to have meat in every meal, or at least every dinner time. There's got to be a meat there. That's fine. Like whatever you want to do with your life, or however you want to eat, it's fine with me. I'm just telling you that if you want to save a little bit of money, you may reduce the meat. And it doesn't even have to be that you're not eating meat. Maybe you just reduce the quantity of it. Or even if you go by better quality, like I'm a big fan of quality over quantity. So maybe you find a local butcher shop that costs a bit more, but you buy less of it because it's better quality. You're getting more nutrients, more nutrition out of it. You're supporting local. And because it costs a bit more, you have a little bit less of it, and it'll save you money in the long run. So that's something that I definitely consider. For me, having a grocery list is so important. Like this is a grocery list to save you time when you hit the grocery store, but having a grocery list is so important just for you to I've done it myself. Like we wander around, not really sure what to get. I always check the discount rack. That's another tip that we can chalk up here, is like if you make sure you hit the discount rack, especially for fruits and veggies. Like, well, that's mostly what they put on there, but they almost always have bananas that are going bad. And if in most cases, they're fine. Often it's the outside that looks like it's going bad, or maybe it is. I don't know what the word I'm thinking, maturing. It is getting more and more ripe. So it doesn't look that appealing. So they put it on the discount rack so it sells quicker, and there's nothing wrong with the fruit on the inside. I'm talking specifically about bananas here. I'm a big banana fan. I put in most of my smoothies, and then I often have a banana peanut butter for a snack, maybe pre-workout or maybe throughout the day. But you can go and buy bananas for cheap. They're basically giving them away. And if they're going to expire soon, you could just peel them and throw them in the freezer. That's it. And you have your banana smoothies. So, or you have your bananas for smoothies. And you can also, we often make banana ice cream. So we put the frozen bananas with some other fruit, maybe some maple syrup or some of our own True Farm honey. And we make ice cream. You put that in the blender, and it's a really nice way to enjoy your own homemade ice cream, which is another way to save money because you're not hitting Dairy Queen. And it's a nice treat that's healthy, has clean ingredients, and it tastes delicious. Super easy. Just takes a bit more time that many of us don't want to spend that time on. But coming back to the grocery store and having a grocery list it's super important to have that grocery list, because then you still, like I find myself still buying a few things that I think we could use or we might need, but you have a less of a chance to deviate from what you actually need. So we already have our meals planned in advance. We're working our way back with the grocery list. So we have our grocery list and we know exactly what I need. So if you don't have a meal plan and you don't have a grocery list, you're kind of wandering around, not really sure what you're going to have throughout the week. So you just toss random things in your cart. You don't know when you're going to have it, how you're going to prepare it. And usually those are the things that go bad, or they spoil, or they go rotten. You have to throw them away. So it will save you so much time if you start making a grocery list and going to the grocery store. It'll save you money because you're not buying a bunch of stuff you're not going to use, but it's going to save you time because you're not wandering around trying to figure out what to buy. I have a list that I hold in my hand and I have a pen in the other hand. And every time I go grab something, I check it off, I cross it off the list, and I go grab something else, and then I leave. That's different. I guess everyone's different, right? For me, I don't really want to cruise around the grocery store just for fun. Like, that's not all that enjoyable to me. There's a bunch of things I'd rather do, like watch marketing videos. But whatever it is that you choose to do with your time, if it's not at the grocery store, you don't have to spend endless hours at the grocery store. You just think you do because that's how it's always been. You go to the grocery store, you wander around, you talk to the people hanging out there, you talk to the workers, and you just cruise down the aisles, and then people are like, I don't want to go to the grocery store. It takes too much time. That's because you don't have a plan. And by having a plan, that starts with a meal plan, working back to a grocery list. You buy exactly what's on the grocery list, nothing else, and then you leave. That's how simple it can be. Once you get home, there's a couple things that you can do to preserve your veggies, for example. We like Thieves brand. So Thieves Veggie Spray, that actually keeps food or fruit and veggies lasting longer. So we soak our fruit and veggies in Thieves Veggie Spray and then put it in the fridge. And then the other thing you could do is use apple cider vinegar if you don't have Thieves or if you don't want to buy it. So apple cider vinegar in water, soak your fruit and veggies as soon as you get home, and then you dry them off and you put them in the fridge. I don't like cold. I don't like things too cold. I don't drink cold water. I don't like to bite into things cold. So, for example, if you're looking at bananas, aren't going to go in the fridge. They got to go in the produce basket, wherever that is. But what I like to do for avocados, for example, you take whatever you're going to eat. You take 1 or 2 avocados, you put in the basket outside the fridge. The rest stay in the fridge because those won't take those will take longer to ripen if they're in the fridge. Same thing with, I like oranges. Oranges don't really go bad in my experience. Of course, they do go bad, just not as often as apples seem to rot a bit easier if you're going to compare those staples. But so you got I don't like to eat a cold orange. Otherwise, if you don't mind, then just keep it in the fridge and pull it out when you're ready. But I like to keep 2 or 3 oranges in the fruit basket. I pull one out of the fruit basket, then I take one out of the fridge and put it in the fruit basket. Same thing with apples. I don't like to bite into cold apples. So, and by keeping it in the fridge, and the only ones you're going to eat in the next couple days in the basket is going to keep your fruit lasting longer. And why that's important is because if that fruit rots or goes bad, then you're going to waste your food and you're going to waste your money because you got to replace it. One of the things that I recommend or really like, I much prefer to store food in glass containers as opposed to plastic containers. I mean, we don't really know it. There could be some leaching, like plastic leaching into the food, which is a very good chance that's happening. Glass is better all around. I also think it holds a better seal. It keeps the food in a better condition. So that's one of the suggestions I would offer, is that to make sure you're using glass containers, not cheap plastic containers. One of the things that we kind of started using, a while back now, is we like to use sorry, I lost my train of thought. The beeswax. We like to use the beeswax wraps. I don't know if you heard of these before, but they're fantastic. We're not a big plastic fan. If you heard any of the past shows, I'm passionate about the environment and the oceans and not one-use plastics, not using them. I can't stand them, actually. But we don't use any saran wrap or plastic bags. So one of the things that we use is these beeswax wraps. They're like paper, and they're so cool. They just wrap around. So I often do it with avocados. So I'll put the avocado in the middle of the wrap and just wrap it up so it's airtight and it stays. It's kind of sticky, a little bit sticky. So you put that in the fridge and it seals airtight, keeps the avocados perfect. Same thing if we want to have something in a bowl and it's not in a sealable bowl, or you don't have a proper lid for it, then we put the beeswax on top and it seals nice and tight. When you warm it up, it kind of seals itself around the lid and or the top of the container, and it works fantastic. So that's another way. So here's another way you're saving money, right? You buy those one time. You're not buying one-use saran wrap. You're not buying one-use plastic bags. And we have a whole drawer full of these. We get them for Christmas or we get them for gifts. People know we love them and recommend them. So that's another way we're saving money, is using the same thing over and over again. And that's another great way to save money. But you know what it comes down to is what you want out of life, what you want out of health, what you want out of your grocery bill. I think I'll come back to that in a second. But one of the things that I like to do is check my grocery bill. I buy discounted items. Checking the flyer when you're going to the grocery store is important. Often they'll have a flyer at when you walk in the door, or you get them in your mailbox. So it doesn't take, sounds funny. I remember my grandma going through the flyer, cutting out coupons. They still have coupons, or they still have ways that discount food. So why wouldn't you take a few minutes just to flip through that while you're doing nothing? Instead of flipping through your news feed, why not flip through the flyer at your local grocery store and see what's on sale that week? And one of the other things is collecting points. You can collect points at Co-op. I know, I'd imagine you can at Sobeys, but I know sometimes we go to No Frills. You can collect points there as well. So the more points you collect, the more money you save on the back end. So a lot of times I see people I don't have a card, or I forgot it, or I don't need one. And I think to myself, why wouldn't you save some money and collect some points if it's possible? It doesn't make sense not to. It's it's like when I see people that throw away pops and cans of pop, like the empty ones, like containers, glass, pop, and I'm like, why is that going in the garbage can? Like that, you're throwing money away. It doesn't take much to put in a bag and drive it to the bottle depot and make some money. You're paying for that deposit anyways. You may as well get that money back. So it's bizarre. It's like money, like finances. It's so bizarre to me how people behave when it comes to like you complain about how you don't have any money, and then you don't realize what you're spending money on. And then on top of that, you're throwing money away when you throw your cans in the garbage can. Still shocking to me. And then we have like very simple ways, like meal plan, save you money, grocery list. You got to exchange a little bit of time for money, but on the back end, that's going to save you leaps and bounds. You can make 10 meal plans and just keep recycling them. You can make 10 meal plans, or you can make 5 meal plans, use them once a week, and then recycle them. So you make 5 or 10 meal plans for 6 months. Isn't that going to save you time? Of course it's going to save you time. But then you have people that don't look. I've seen people that don't even look at prices. They don't weigh their fruit. They don't look at prices. They just grab it, toss. There's another tip for you if you like. I'll just keep them flying here. Keep them coming out. Like you could weigh your fruit, right? Like I remember this one time. Like we didn't have a lot of money growing up. My mom always weighed the fruit, and I had a friend who they grew up with a lot of money, and she said, "Why do you guys weigh the fruit?" And they said, "What do you mean? Why do you weigh the fruit? How do you know how much it is if you're not going to weigh it?" I don't even know if that's a thing. They still weigh fruit. That's how we grew up, though, is because you have a budget, and this is how much money you can spend on groceries, and then you go and you buy three or four apples and you weigh them, and you try to get them to be $4 or whatever it is, and then you got to take some off. I don't know if that's just me, but that's how we grew up, and that's how we learned to budget a little bit and make our money last. But there's definitely a lot of things that you can do. It just coming back to what I was saying before is that you got to decide what it is, what's important in your life. If you want to just complain about how expensive everything is, or if you want to make some changes in your life, like that's up to you. Like this is some of the tips that we use to save money in groceries. We buy good quality groceries. We buy food is super important to us. We always want to remain strong and healthy, strong immune system. And food is the very basics of that. We're big into supplements, as most of you know, so we only use the top quality supplements. We create most of them with manufacturers, but that's important to us. Like what we put in our body is everything. It's everything. You see all these people with I've never seen so many people with such a compromised immune system. There's so many people that aren't feeling well for such an extended period of time. I've never experienced this in my life. It's mind-blowing. I think a lot of us know what's happening, but maybe we'll talk about that in another show. And however, there's a lot of people not doing anything about their health. They're not supplementing properly. They're not putting the right foods in. They're going to eat out more often than they should. They're not protecting their digestive. You don't need to protect your digestion with just supplements, for example. You can have chicory root tea in the evening. You can have kombucha in the morning. You can we just had miso soup. Like miso soup is a great fermented food that really helps with immune system and digestion. There's so many things that we could do. We just refuse to do them, and we remain in the same state, which is tired, low energy, miserable, unhappy, overweight, lack of confidence. I could go on. But we got to make changes in our life. And if you really want to make a change, if you want to save some money at the grocery store, this is a great way to go about it. Follow some of these tips and let us know if you have any questions. We're always happy to help. I'm going to wrap things up with that. So hope that makes a difference for you. I hope some of these tips help in the future. I actually had Angela, she did a video. I did a video. I posted on our social media page, and I showed what my grocery cart looked like. And then she did the same. She said, "Hey, Drew, check out my grocery cart. I'm so happy with it." I thought that was so cool. Because most times we see people at the grocery store, they kind of hide their cart from us because they don't want to see what's in it. They don't want us to see what's in it, which is pretty funny if you ask me. At any rate, thanks so much for joining us today on Exploring Mind and Body. That's it. That's all I got. I'm out of here. As always, I'm your host, Drew Tadia, in health and fitness for a better world. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Exploring Mind and Body with Trueform Life's Drew Tadia, fitness expert. To find out more about the show, Drew Tadia, or to listen to past shows, visit exploringmindandbody.com.